So I thought we could continue with the Majjhima Nikaya series, but skipping ahead quite a bit to discourse number 131. And it's actually, there's 4 discourses that are the same, 132, 133, 134. And it's called One Good Night. So I'll read the verse that is found in each of those suttas. One should not dwell on the past, nor hope for the future. The past is over and the future is yet to arrive. One who sees clearly presently arisen things should train their mind to not be caught or moved there. That task should be done today, for tomorrow death may come. There is no negotiating with death's mighty force. By living day and night with such uncompromising effort, the peaceful sage has declared one to have a good night. And that verse is found in each of those suttas, repeated in different contexts. And then the questions that follow is, how does one, chase after the past? And it says, one delights in thinking, I had such a form, I had such a feeling, I had such a perception, I had such aggregates, I had such experiences.
I had such experiences. Oh, it was like this back in the day. And
so that's delighting in those. That's how you.
Yeah.
But as is often heard in spiritual circles, is like, don't think about the past. And it comes this kind of verse can make it sound like, don't forget about the past. Forget about it.
Yeah.
But this is thinking does say thinking, delighting in those past things. Almost nostalgic about.
It's a bit subtler than that. It's not just being nostalgic. So can you stop thinking about the past? Can you just not think?
Oh, memories are it's part of your.
Exactly. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible. So see, when people should stop dwelling through delight on the past. People should stop taking past for granted. But it doesn't mean you should stop thinking about it, as if that's an option. That you could just stop thinking about it and not think about the past. You could choose not to dwell on it. You could choose not to delight in it. You could choose not to welcome it. But you can't choose not to think it, because you are it. So when people say stop thinking about the past, they overshoot the mark because they want to stop dwelling on it. But they can't see the middle ground where dwelling stops without trying to get rid of it, and then they just go too far and try to get rid of it. How do you find the middle ground where the past is? Do you need to go back into the past?
No, because that's.
So say you're thinking about the past. You think about a past event that your mind wants to delight in. It was so great. And you want to relive it again. Where is that experience?
Well, it's presently arisen.
It's right now.
Yeah.
It's right here. That is its framework. Doesn't matter how far in the past you go, it is presently, like you're presently thinking it. It can't be any other way. But see, when you overlook the fact that you're presently thinking any past possible, when you overlook that fact, you are in the past. Like your thoughts imply this was back then, in that time, in that place, not here anymore. You don't see the here-ness, so to speak, of it still here, because here you're thinking it, now you're thinking it. And it always has been that way. So if you begin by not losing that perspective,
on that presently
that whatever past you might be thinking, it can only be thought presently. There is no past thinking. then apply the same in the future. Any future thought that you're planning for tomorrow, see, if you overlook the fact that that is present here now while you're thinking it, you will imply that those thoughts are the thoughts of tomorrow and for tomorrow, and they're over there, and they're more in the future than they're here. And that's why when you start blaming the thoughts, oh, stop thinking about the future, oh, don't think about the past. It's like, those are just thoughts in the present. Why would it be a problem? So once you see that whether it's the past, whether it's the future, whether it's the present, it can only be thought presently. You are then completely aligned with what verses say you should do. Because it's not like, oh, I shall do these things presently. No, you just need to stop overlooking that they are already present.
Yeah.
It can't be any other way. And that's another thing that people, they would be blaming the thoughts, blaming the past, blaming the future, stop thinking about it, don't dwell on it, and so on, just be in the present moment. That's another thing they miss. The fact that you can't be anywhere else except in the present moment. So it does not need to come from your volitional effort of being present. If it actually comes from that effort, you are not present. You are not aware of that effort being the present moment. So you're doing the present moment on your own terms, through your own craving, through your own notions. No, you find the framework of the present moment, which is already there. And then you are put second. Any notion of me, I was, I will be, it's second to it. That's why the Buddha would always so convey that by saying, oh, he does not dwell and think like, oh, I was in the past, I was such in the past, I had such form, and I, me. But if you still think like that, even if you think the present moment, you're thinking it through me,
Yeah.
which is not really the framework of the present moment.
So how does one anticipate the future? One delights in thinking, may I have such a experience, such a form, such a feeling, such a perception, and so on. And then how is one caught by presently arisen states? How is one caught and moved? It says here, an ordinary person who is unskilled in the noble Dhamma and discipline views each of the aggregates, or views experience as self, as if, or as possessing, that the self possesses these things, self is in those things, those things are in self.
Either way, his sense of self, his I am, is the center point, is the reference for any permutation. The self has to be there, one way or the other.
So whatever you are experiencing, you're caught there.
But you could ask the same, like when you think about yourself, whatever ambiguous thoughts you might have, or images or notions, there it is. What are those thoughts other than thoughts?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, so the self is not real. No, the self is real as a thought, as an image that you've been misconceiving and attributing far more than it actually is. But you have the genuine notion of I am. It's a real thing. Yes. But it's an image as such. It's a thought. It's presently being enduring there, and you're thinking it, you're perceiving it as an image. That is its existence. Any other implication that image might have of me, importance, my own, I am, all of that is now second to the mere image of it. Yeah. And that's how you start correcting that order.
And I say, then you won't be getting caught in thoughts of the past.
Yeah.
Or thinking about what's going to
happen. And less. You'll be caught less and less.
Because you're not caught here and now.
Exactly.
You don't have that view that yourself is beyond, or...
If you're here, not seeing yourself as an arisen thing that endures on its own, as an image, as a thought, then you will be implying yourself in the past, and you will be anticipating yourself in the future. Because that is its gateway. That is where it comes through.
And then, and as it's... So what is that task should be done today?
Well, because when else can you do it?
Yeah. For tomorrow death may come. There's already... there is it's still a counter, death is going to happen.
Yeah.
But the task, one might think, well, what is the task there? There's no instruction here. But it's just one who sees clearly presently arisen things should train the mind to not be caught.
Yeah, so basically the sutta is instructed for those who have the right view.
Yeah, who sees
correctly presently arisen things, not somebody who's still stabbing in the dark.
Yeah. Who
And
sees images.
They who see dhammas as dhammas, who see things correctly, who have the right view, should then make the effort to not be caught, to not slip up, to not lose the context, and start carelessly thinking about their form in the past, anticipating in the future, dwelling on it in the present.
So then what is seeing an image? How do you know you're seeing an image, seeing dhammas as dhammas? How do you know you're seeing it, things as they are, or presently arisen thing?
Well, are you free from suffering? Is there no that sharp tip of pain that can get you, regardless of the pain, regardless of the circumstances?
Regardless of the thing that's arisen.
Regardless of the thing that's arisen, yeah. So it's not a metaphysical or a theoretical or abstract notion. I mean, obviously it is for people, but seeing dhammas as dhammas means basically being able to see your mind as mind. And that's already a prerequisite for Sottapati. And how do you see your mind as mind? Well, we covered that in many other suttas. You gotta first round it up, fence it off, tie it down, let it kick and scream, urinate and defecate in anger and threats because you're restraining it. And then when it calms down, then basically you present it with things that arise and start training it to get used to it. Get used to the context that you don't want to think about. Get used to the inevitabilities that you distract yourself from. But first, you need to have tamed it down through virtue and sense restraint. You need to be able to simply put up with saying no to the desires, no to ill will, no to distraction. And once it's able to do that, you bring up the context of sickness, death, various contemplations in the suttas. Not for some great resolution expectation, as I said in the previous talk, but simply bring it up so the mind can look at it and then see what the mind does. Same. You want to train a dog, or like the suttas say, you train a battle elephant. You don't immediately throw it into the battle, but you don't keep it sheltered from the spears either. So once it's there, obeying you to an extent, then yes, you put some weight on it, see what it does, see whether then it wants to run back to the wilderness. Then correct it. When it gets used to it, then they start prodding it with sticks, then with spears, then with all these little things to train it to simply remain there, composed and unperturbed.
Basically thoughts of death, thoughts of the inevitability.
Thoughts of inevitability, thoughts of things you don't want to think about, basically. Yeah. Losing your loved ones, losing your wealth, losing your health, losing your life, just things people are generally intoxicated with. You could just start thinking about them and probably would have some effect. But generally, if your behavior is still contradicting these very notions of kind of dispassion and impermanence, you won't get very far. You might just wind yourself up and become neurotic, basically. But if you do start saying no to your desires, acting out of ill will, keeping the precepts, restraining yourself, then, as I said, the mind is contained. Even if it doesn't feel pleasant, it's contained. And then when these things come up, these thoughts, these contexts, you don't try to get rid of them. You don't distract yourself. You don't fall into views of psychologizing them and explaining the reasons why these thoughts came up. You just leave them there as a cloud hanging over a village while everybody in the village continues about the day. So you leave this context in front of the animal and let it continue. Now obviously it's a bit freer because it's sort of semi-tamed. You let it move and you watch its reactions until it gets used to it, until it doesn't care whether the cloud is there or not. Then you bring a bigger cloud. Then you amplify the cloud. And the point will come when nothing will move it.
That's the training the
That's
mind
the training
not to
the
be
mind.
moved
Exactly.
and caught
Yeah.
up with.
And the more immovable the mind is, the clearer the images are, the clearer the thoughts are, the clearer the nature of the past is, the clearer the nature of anticipation is. All of that just starts falling into place. It's not really like a complex, logical secret that you need to decipher in order to understand it. The reason it does not land where it should land is because the mind is nowhere near being tamed. So it can't bear those images, let alone see through them and their implications and their nature. It's not used to.
Just bearing with little discomfort.
Sorry?
It's not used to bearing just even a little bit of
Well, no, it might be used to bearing a lot of discomfort on the physical level. But bearing discomfort is not the same as enduring on the right level when I say it. I keep saying that because people keep confusing it. The point is, enduring on the right level means enduring that certain mental ambiguity / anxiety / discomfort only on that certain mental level. That's why the Buddha himself said, no, sometimes I eat 2 bowls of food and sleep in king's palaces. So he endures no discomfort.
Yeah.
And he has disciples that would be eating just like a grain of rice and sleep under a tree and wear rag robes. Yet they still respect him. They still value his teachings. It's obviously not because of bearing the elements on its own. It's because they understood what the right level is, according to his teaching. And that is what's freeing them, and that's why they respect him. And that right level is that mental level. And as I said many times, like people would rather be putting up with far worse, factually worse, physical pains, torment, enduring that on that physical level, than to have just like a nagging thought of doubt, or what do they think of me? Like, for example, or was that what do you mean when he said that? These little unresolved things, these little mental pressures, that's more unbearable. That will make people go crazy. That usually those things come up in solitude.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I would rather just mindlessly, you just beat me and give me some physical bearing task, sit immovable for 10 hours and cry through pain, but mentally I can switch off.
Yeah,
mentally I will switch off. But having a doubt or a worry or an anxiety waking me up at night 24/7, oh, that's far worse. Well, that's the right level. So if you're practicing on that level, building it up through right taming, as I said, precepts, sense restraint, watching your speech, avoiding entertainment, moderation in eating, increasing solitude, you wouldn't need to do any of the other stuff. You probably occasionally might to bear some elements just to see if anything will come up, but it's going to be insignificant and minuscule.